Perfect. Okay, so in my childhood, I always was fond of celebrating my birthdays on the date as per the tithi, and my mother would be the one to kind of help me with that. But she's not there anymore, and now I don't know how to see tithis and understand Panchanga. So I'm not celebrating it, although I still crave to do so. So maybe one thing I want to do is learn the tithi system. Second is I'm actually very curious and, in fact, in a way, worried about the whole idea of Sunday being a holiday forced upon me out of nowhere. It's an alien concept, and I do wonder if having to, learning and to understand Panchanga system would help me to find the Parvadina as possibly the days for me to take a week off. And so yes, so those are my kind of learning points. And without much of delay, I would hand over to my guest panelist, Seshagiri, and perfectly he will be able to kind of steer the discussion, and we will allow Mohan to take over as a speaker after that. Kindly stay in mute. I'm actually seeing a lot of disturbing sound in the background, and it won't help. It may distract the speaker as well. Please stay in mute. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We will have ample time at the end for a question and answer session. Perfect. Okay, let me find Seshagiri. Seshagiri, are you there? All right. Yes, I can see you here. So let me. Where are you? You're gone away somewhere again. Okay, let me make co-host. Yes, you are a co-host now. And please show yourself, pin yourself, and I'm going to disappear.
Mahodaya, katam karaniyam, pin karaniyam?
Aham pin karomi. Spotlight for everyone. Idanim asti atra.
Dhanyawad. Sorry, this is English forum, right, Mahodaya?
It is an English forum, yes, yes. I forgot to introduce Seshagiri. My apologies. Seshagiri is a dear friend of mine. We know each other from Singapore. He has been kind enough to teach us the Panchanga system. I won't call it Panchanga system, some introduction to astrology in one of our spoken Sanskritam workshops. And he was a hit teacher on that occasion. So over to you, Seshagiri.
Thank you, Mahodaya. Thank you for the good introduction. Okay, so Srinivas Mahodaya is my actually teacher for my Sanskrit when I started this journey. So he just told we are friends. Actually, he is my teacher. Of course, we are friends. Thank you, Mahodaya. So today the topic is about Hindu almanac, or what we refer to as Panchanga. Pancha means 5. We already know that. Anga is parts. So today, Mohanji, the main speaker, is going to cover these 5 parts, what they astronomically mean. Okay, what is the nakshatra, what is a tithi, what is sidereal, cyanotic calendar differences. Maybe, I don't know whether he will be able to cover it today itself, but the basics of Panchanga will be covered today. And we will see how scientific it is, how meteorological it is. So that is what his main speaker is going to speak. But okay, let's understand one thing. It is scientific, we understood. Once he explains, at least we will get to know it is scientific. But then what's in it for me? What is the use if I know a Panchanga? Isn't it good enough if I know a Gregorian calendar? Means the calendar that we follow now, as Jan 1st as a new year, December 31st as the last day. Isn't it good enough? That's one question. But as a Hindu, practicing Hindu, now when I say Hindu, it doesn't just mean only Hindus. I'm including even the Jains, the Buddhists, the Sikhs, all the Eastern traditions. All of us celebrate our festivities, our festivals, and the basis for all these festivals, whether it be Ramanavami, whether it be Krishna Jayanti, Narasimha Chaturdashi, Makar Sankranti, which just happened, or Ratha Saptami, which is about to happen, anything. The basic is the Panchanga. Only with the Panchanga, we know a particular festival when it is going to happen. In fact, Jyotishya is considered as a Vedanga precisely for this point. Vedanga, because these Jyotishya or these events, Panchanga points, were used to start a particular ritual or a sacrifice or a yajna. Any new event when we are about to start any new venture or new learning or a new life when we are getting married or anything, we see Panchanga, we see Muhurta in auspicious time. Does it mean there is an inauspicious time? It's not like that, to be exact. But for example, let us take a Sankramana day or a Grahana day. Okay, eclipse is there. So on eclipse day, is it bad? It's not bad. It's good for spiritual sadhana. But it is a good day to do a marriage? Of course not. So depending on the context, we should see the time accordingly. So there is no bad time as such for anything. But basically, whether the time is supporting my actions or am I going against the stream of time? If I'm going to go against the stream of time, it's very difficult to achieve success. But if I'm going with the flow, then it's good. So whenever we start a new venture or anything new we learn or any sankalpa we do or marriage or anything, we don't want to go against the flow. It's not a challenge that we want to take on our life. We rather go with the flow and easy, right? So that's the reason we see Panchanga. That's another usage of that. Of course, we already know the Sankramanas, the Makara Sankramana just happened. All these Sankramanas are very auspicious time for Pitrakaryas, not for our Shubhakaryas, general Shubhakaryas, but Punyakaryas, Punyakarmas. Spiritual sadhanas are very good in eclipses. So there is no bad time, good time, but there are favorable time and they're not so favorable time for a particular thing that we are doing. So Panchanga helps us to note that and follow accordingly so that it becomes easy to achieve whatever we want to achieve. Another example which I use Panchanga regularly for Ekadashis. We keep Ekadashi Vratas. So if at all you are also keeping Ekadashi Vrata, then we should know when the Ekadashi starts, when it stops, and how long we should fast. Without even knowing how to see a Panchanga, we might not be able to do it properly. Panchanga has a lot of information actually. If you go through a whole Panchanga, the whole line, then you will learn history also. You will learn about Shali Vahan Shaka, Vikram Samvat, okay, and now we are in Plavanama Samvatsara. And of course, whenever we do any sankalpam or doing any ritual, we say this, no? Kalinge, Pradame Pade, Jambu Dvipe, Bharataparshe, Bharatakande. Then we say Shashti Samvatsaranam Madhye, Hevalambinam, Plavanama Samvatsare. We say all these things. All these things are coming from Panchanga to specify a particular timing. And as Srinivas Mahodaya have pointed out, to celebrate our birthdays or to do any ancestral Pitrakaryas like Shraddha Karyas, we need Panchanga. So Panchanga is an integral part of a Hindu lifestyle. We cannot discard it. It is a must. It is extremely essential. And it's so essential that all the Shodasha karmas, including marriage, Jatakarma, Namakarna, Annaprashana, everything has a specific auspicious time. And to know all these things, Panchanga is the basis. So without further ado, I will not take much time. Let us get into the main speaker, Mohanji. And he will explain what the Panchanga contains, the basics today. If at all we have good interest later on by the participants, then we might continue for further few more sessions. Over to you, Mohanji. Please take over. Thank you for giving the opportunity. Mohanji, are you there?
Yeah, namaste. Yeah.
Can you introduce Mohanji, sir?
Yeah, namaste. You can hear me?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Mohanji is a IITian. He is now in US. He studied his master's in Rice University, and now he's more than the academic part. I would like to tell more about his spiritual part. He is a follower of Vivekananda and Aurobindo. Follower in the sense he takes inspirations from them. That's what I mean. And in fact, when I say about Vivekananda, I remembered one more thing. Vivekananda left his body on an Amavasya, and that represents something in Jyotishya. That means he overcome his mind, because moon represents mind, and on Amavasya day we don't see the mind. That means he overcome his mind. That means basically he got an Advaita Anubhava or Samadhi, what we call. So it represents that. Anyway, sorry, coming back to the topic. Mohanji is an, his school of thoughts follows more into Sankhya, and he's interested in philosophy. He reads a lot of Aurobindo and Vivekananda, and even Jaddu Krishnamurti. He does a lot of practice of spiritual sadhana. Basically, he wants to follow the path of dharma and do as much good to the world as possible. I would say that is the biggest thing, rather than his academics and everything. He wants to give something good to the world. He wants to follow dharma. That itself is the biggest thing, and that is what he does. Over to you, Mohanji. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you, Seshagiri. So again, like I said, my name is Mohan Sonti. I live in the Boston area, Massachusetts, in America. So I have a deep passion for Hindu scriptures. Hopefully, make some progress in the society in that aspect. So today's topic is about Panchanga, and what I'll be covering is just the technical aspects of it, just more from an astronomical standpoint, what each of those elements mean. So Panchanga, that is basically 5 anga, like it was mentioned before. They are basically Tithi, Vara, Nakshatra, Yoga, and Karana. So let me share the screen here and share. All right. So you can see this screen here. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So to understand each of these pieces, right? So from astronomical standpoint, we first had to understand what are the different motions that we have in our solar system. So from our perspective, so we have the Earth that spins about its axis, the rotation. It goes around the sun, that is a revolution. And then we have Moon that rotates about its axis, the rotation of the Moon, and it goes around the Earth, that's a revolution. So that's 4. And the 5th is an apparent motion where we see the sky, it's of all the stars going in the opposite direction. So we see an apparent motion of the stars. So for the starters, this is the basic movements that we have, right? What is a calendar? A calendar is basically timekeeping. So how do we keep the time? We take all of these motions into account, and then we see how we're going to create a system that gives a precise time in the space. Now you see there is a 5th motion that we have here that is called the precession. So the Earth spins around its axis, and this axis itself wobbles, right? That is called precession. So in our language, we call it as ayana. So anything that accounts for it is sayana. One that does not account for the precession is nirayana. All right. So before we proceed any further, we need to understand 2 concepts. One is called sidereal and cyanotic. Now if you look at the Earth, this is Sun, Earth and Moon. Since the axis of spinning is little tilted, if the Earth goes completely one circle 360 degrees around the Sun, that is called sidereal. Or let me explain differently. Let us say the Earth isn't spinning and it simply goes around the Sun one full circle. All right. What is a sidereal? Sidereal is it's as if you're seeing it from a celestial location, from far off location, from the stars. That is sidereal, is from the stars. When we look from the stars, we'll see that when the Earth goes around the Sun, let us say there is no spinning, then the number of days of Earth is actually 0, right? Because the Earth did not spin. But the cyanotic, understand that as being in synchrony, as if the reference point is where you are sitting. Let's say we are on Earth, the Earth isn't spinning, it goes around the Sun. The sidereal in reality the earth did not spin, so we have 0 days. But sitting on earth, we'll see that the sun rises on the west and sets on the east in that 1 year. So we have actually lost 1 day. So in synodic terms, it is -1 day. All right. So it's very important to understand sidereal and synodic. Sidereal is as if looking from stars, it is absolute. Synodic, the reference point is us sitting on earth. So if the earth doesn't spin, goes around the sun 1 round, the sidereal day is 0 because earth did not spin. But the synodic, we have lost a day. It is -1 day, right? Because the sun rises from the west and sets on the east in that 1 year. All right. Now let's expand that idea further for the whole earth revolving around sun. Since the axis is tilted, if you look at the top portion, this picture, let us assume on the left side we have December. This is December, and on the right side we have, say, June. When we complete 1 full revolution around sun, which is 360 degrees, the December is on this side, June is on the other side, the right side. All right. Now, because the earth's axis wobbles, all right, like a spinning top, what happens is that wobbling takes about 27,000 years or 27,500 years. All right. So in about 13,000 years, you see that the axis is tilted in the opposite direction. So from a sidereal perspective, as if you're looking from the stars, if you just look at the sun and earth, you will see that the December, which was on the left side, has moved to the right side. All right. So in 13,000 years in space, the left side, that was the December, now moved to the right side. So we have deviated by about 180 degrees, the precession cycle. In 27,000 years, we are going to come back to the same position, right? What does that tell us? What it tells us is the seasons. So the apparent position of sun moving from equator up north to Tropic of Cancer, coming down to the Tropic of Capricorn and coming back to the equator. That whole thing is called one synodic revolution, also called tropical, our seasons, right? We have summer, winter and all of that. That is one season. Now, because of precision, this falls short of 360-degree revolution. By how much? By about 1/27,000th fraction, which is about 0.013 degrees. 0.013 degrees is about 20 minutes. All right. So now what is the sidereal revolution? Sidereal revolution is when Earth completes a precise 360 degrees revolution around sun. A synodic or tropical is when it completes one full season where the sun's apparent motion starts from equator, goes up north to Tropic of Cancer, to Tropic of Capricorn and comes back to the equator. This synodic or tropical revolution is slightly less than 360 degrees. All right. Now, so we need to understand the sidereal and synodic or tropical. And this is very important, and that sets the tone for and the stage for the whole Panchangam and everything else. All right. Now that is Earth's motion. Now let's look at the moon. If you look at moon, let us say Earth stays in the same place. Moon completes one full revolution around Earth. This is sidereal. But in the meantime, this takes about 27 to 30 days. In the meantime, Earth has moved forward. So if you look at the moon's position, looking from Earth, the moon, which is lined up with sun over here, it lines up with sun again to our naked eye, that is 360 degrees. right? We see the moon at a specific location in the sky. Let's say it's lined up with the sun, and we go back to the exact same place, that is 360 degrees. But in reality, this would have been 360 degrees, and the moon has to travel little more than 360 degrees, right? So the sidereal revolution of moon is starting from a position and completing precisely 360 degrees. Cyanotic is as if we observe with our naked eye sitting on earth and the moon completing 360 degrees, which in reality, if you look at from the sidereal perspective, it has traveled little more than 360. So we understand sidereal and cyanotic. So for moon, sidereal, real is real, 360 degrees. Cyanotic is as we see from earth. Now we also seen that for earth. Sidereal is completing 360 degrees around the sun. Cyanotic or tropical is the seasonal, as we see the sun going up and down from the equator and coming back to the same position. So as we see, these are the actual values a little different. All right. That brings us to the next point, which is Tithi. Now, what is Tithi? First, we account for cyanotic, and then we take care of sidereal, and all the elements put together makes the Panchanga. All right. So Panchanga is a system which accounts for all the possible motions of the sun, moon, earth, and all the relative motion of the stars and planets. All right. Now, this cyanotic revolution, as you see, it's little more than 360 degrees. Moon goes around the sun, and the apparent motion, you see the moon at a specific location, you see it at the same location again. That takes about 29.5 days. So the apparent motion of the moon takes 29.5 days in cyanotic revolution. As we see, the sidereal is little less. The sidereal revolution of moon around earth is about 27 days. 27 earth days. All right. Now, what is Tithi? Because 29.5 and a fraction of it is a little difficult to deal with, what we do is a Tithi from the Dhatu Tith means to be precise. We can understand that as, for example, Atithi is like a guest who comes at any time. Now, Tithi is being precise. So we divide this 29.5 days into 30 precise units. All right. So what we'll do is we'll keep this, and let me share another screen as well. So we take the 29.5 days and divide that into precisely 30 units. So as we see, the Tithis, they don't exactly start at the same time that we see. Like it can be exactly at midnight 12 and it's not that way. It just shifts a little bit throughout the month, right? So the 29.5 days, the cyanotic days, being divided into 30 equal units is Tithi. Those are your Padhimi, Vidya, Tadiya, Chavidi, all of these, right? And goes to Paurnami and then Amavasya. Okay? After getting the Tithi, we see that the Earth, the moon revolving around Earth, the cyanotic revolution, in any year, it completes 12 such revolutions. All right? It completes 12 revolutions, 12 complete revolutions. And then there is little more, a few more days left for the year to be completed. All right? About 10 days more. So each of these revolutions takes about 29.5 days. We complete 12 of those, and then there is few more days left for the year to be completed. Now this 12 number sets the stage for Rasi. All right. Now what is Rasi? We look at the sky and we divide the entire sky into 12 precise units, 12 exact units. Now that is the stationary frame of reference. All right. That is like a place that we can reset our months and the days in the calendar. Okay, because the sky is stationary. So we divide the whole sky into 12 exact units. We call that as Rasi. Now, I said the moon revolves around Earth in 29.5 days, and we complete 12 full revolutions in a year, right? These 12 revolutions are named, and we call them as Masa, the months. So these are the 12 months. After completing 12 months, we have about 10 more days left, right, to complete the year. And we already know the Rasi, the celestial scale, that is stationary. So every about 30 odd months, 32 months or so, we fall back by about one complete revolution. So you can say in about 32 months or so, instead of say 32 revolutions, we actually have 33. That is where we add a Adhika Masa, one extra month. All right. So anytime we see that we fall short by one complete revolution, we simply add an extra month, an extra Masa there. That we call as Adhika Masa. All right. Now, how do we adjust to that? If remember, I said Ayana is precision. So Sayana is accounting for the precision, which is tropical or synodic. If we know the tropical location, we add the Adhika Masa to align with that position, the synodic position. So if you look at a Sayana calendar, we add the Adhika Masa to account for the tropical. Yeah. I'm sorry? Okay. So we account for the tropical position, and we add the Adhika Masa to align with the synodic event, which is like the sun going from equator, Tropic of Cancer, Capricorn. That is a synodic event. We align with that. So we have two aspects of the calendar: the Sayana calendar, Nirayana. Ayana is precision. Sa-ayana is one that accounts for the precision, which is synodic. Nirayana, one that does not account for the precision. Because if you're looking, that is sidereal. If you look from sky, it doesn't matter if the earth is wobbling, because our locations are precisely 360 degrees and we see the real things, right? So in Nirayana calendar, we add the Adhika Masa to align with a specific Rasi. All right. Whereas in Sayana calendar, we add the Adhika Masa to align with the synodic event. Okay, so that is how we adjust the Masa. So if you look at it, we all talk about Adhika Masa. Technically, we have that in two different aspects. There are a couple calendars. All of this still fall under the Panchanga. So for different events, we follow different aspects of it. Okay. So now we know what is Tithi, the synodic revolution of moon, 29.5 days. We divide that to precisely 30 units. That is Tithi. Then what we did was we found out what Rasi, pegging to the celestial scale, and one complete revolution we called as Masa, and we had 12 of those. And we have seen how we add Adhika Masa to adjust to that. The next element we are going to add is called Vara or Vasara. This is, so before we understand the Vara, one aspect we need to understand. Vara is, we know there are 7 days in a week, right? How did that come about? So first we understand Graha. Graha is something that contains, that holds it. That's how you get it from the Dhatu. Anything that holds it, that attracts and holds it in a place, right? So you can think of a lot of Sanskritam words derived from the same Dhatu. All of them is something that contains it and holds it. All right. Now, what are the things, objects in the sky that has an influence, which has a pulling force and holds the earth, that has a pulling effect or some force on earth. There are 7 such planets. All right, as you can see, these are all. So if you look at it, the translation of graha to an English word called planet is completely a misnomer. So even though I'm using the word planet, it's really not planet. It's basically celestial objects that has a pulling force on earth. So when people talk about do the Indian calendars have 7 planets, and did they really think moon and sun are the planets? No, we didn't think sun and moon as planets, because the translation of the word graha to planet is a complete misnomer. If you go to the dhatu of what graha is anything that has a pulling effect. All right, and there are 7 objects in the sky that has the pulling effect on earth, that has an effective pulling effect on earth, right? That is graha. So to call that as a planet is a misnomer. We don't look at planets the way the current Western system looks at planets. The graha is not a planet. Graha is anything that has a pulling effect. What are the things that has a pulling effect? Obviously sun. Then next comes moon. Then Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, and all of these. Interestingly, if you look at the net pulling effect based on the position of Earth and all of these planets, if you take the mean effect of over the whole entire evolution of each one of these planets, the mean or the average pulling effect over a span of an entire evolution, you will see that sun has the highest influence. If you do the math, moon has the second highest influence. It's a smaller object, so compared to Jupiter, which is farther away, but they go at different rates. So if you look at the net effect of the pulling effect, the net gravitational pull, and take an average of it, you actually get this in the same sequence. All right, so we don't know how our ancient sages found this out, but this is the order in which it has been presented. There are a lot of verses on this, also from like the Navagraha Stotram from Veda Vyasa and many others. Later on, all of them have it in pretty much the same order. All right, and you will see that this is about the same order in which there is a net gravitational pull on Earth, with sun having the highest effect, then comes the moon, Mars, and so on. These 7, the 7 so-called graha, what are the other 2 influential points? There are 2 mathematical points called Rahu and Ketu. Now, how do we understand Rahu and Ketu? From a mathematical standpoint, if you take Earth, from the equator you draw a plane. All right, imagine you slice Earth on a straight line in a big plane, right? You take moon, it's spinning, take its equator and draw another plane, 2 sheets of paper. Let's say you cut the Earth and the moon. These 2 planes are at a tilt and they intersect on a line. The northern point of that intersecting line is called the Rahu. The southern intersecting point is called the Ketu. So when moon comes to the northern and the southern point, you have what is called as the lunar and solar eclipse. And when these 2 points align precisely with, because each of those planes itself wobble, like imagine putting a bangle and you're spinning it. The bangle wobbles, right? The different points of contact that keep rotating, right, on the floor. Imagine the Earth's plane and the moon's plane also wobbling. When they wobble, these intersecting points also rotate. And when they align precisely with the sun, you have a total lunar eclipse and total solar eclipse. All right. So these 2 mathematical points are your Rahu and Ketu. So what is Graha? Graha is anything that has a pull or an influence. There are 7 such objects which have the pull and the influence. Those are these 7 objects in that specific order. And then we have 2 mathematical points where the plane of Earth cutting through Earth's equator, cutting through Moon's equator, these 2 planes intersect, forming a line. The northern part of line is Rahu, southern part of the line is Ketu. This entire line itself rotates because the Earth's plane and the sun's plane, the precession effect, and the moon's plane also wobble. So when these align with sun, the intersecting points, we have a total lunar eclipse and a total solar eclipse. So now you understand the Rahu and Ketu and how they're also part of the Graha. It has its own, if you look at the math behind it, these points are very significant in understanding the influence that each of these Graha have on Earth. So we call that as Navagraha. Alright. Now this is established, we have 7 of these influential ones. In every culture in the world, every culture, with almost no exceptions, they have named the 7th day, which we call as Vara or Vasara. They have divided, say the Earth, the synodic rotation of Earth is about 24 hours. We call 24 Hora, right? They took units of 7 to divide their months or however they want to calculate, keep time. And all of them are divided in units of 7 based on the same 7 Graha that we discussed earlier. Alright? If you look at it, this order and the 7 Graha is universal across every culture in the world. As you see here, we have Surya, Aditya, Ravi, then Soma, Mangala, Buddha, Brihaspati, or Guru, Shukra, and Shani. The Varas are named in the same way. If you look at the names in English, Latin, Germanic, Norse, Roman, Old English, Solis, Suno comes Sun, Moon, Lune, Moon, Mars, which in Germanic is Tiu, is Tuesday. Mercury is Wooden in Germanic, Wednesday. So you have the exact same order. Across every culture in the world, followed the same exact, the 7 Grahas identified in our Vedic literature, our Vedic scriptures. Alright? And the world over followed the same 7 and in exactly the same order. That is how we got this 7 Vara. So, from here we go to the next concept. So, out of the Panchanga, we covered Tithi. Tithi was synodic revolution of moon around Earth, which takes 29.5 days. We divided that into precise 30 units, that is Tithi. Then Vara, which is synodic rotation of Earth. We see a morning sun, we see the morning sun at the same time. We divide that into 24 Hora or 24 hours, and we take that, we count in steps of 7. That 7 is the Vasara, the synodic rotation of Earth. Tithi is synodic revolution of moon around Earth. Vara is synodic rotation of Earth. So we have taken care of 2 aspects, right? And many other intermediate data points. From here, we move to the next element called Nakshatra. Now, what is Nakshatra? So, the Kshetra, you know what is Kshetra? The region, anything that we have a control over, right? Nakshatra is ones that don't have an influence. If you remember the Graha, the ones that hold and pull together, Nakshatra is ones that are outside the region, that do not have a pull. So if you understand from the Dhatu, then you understand why we call star a star and a planet and a planet. So Graha is not exactly planet. Now we know that. Same can be said about Nakshatra. So these are equivalents in English. They are crude rough equivalents. So if somebody finds an issue with that, it's because they are not the same words, they are not the same language. We speak different languages and we understand the concepts differently, but we are trying to map it in some way, right? Now, what is Nakshatra? We have accounted for, let's go with this again. We have accounted for the moon's revolution around Earth, the synodic revolution, which takes 29.5 days, divided to 30 units, that is Tithi. Now we go for the moon's sidereal revolution around Earth, which takes little over 27 days. Alright? Now, how are we going to divide this? We can divide that into, because if it's 29.5, we took the higher number 30. So in sidereal, initially, they tried taking 28. But 360 is not that precisely divisible by 28. but it's very precisely divisible by 27. So what our ancients did was, they took the sidereal revolution, which takes about 27 Earth days, and divided that into 27 exact units pegged to the sky, the stars, right? They identified 27 significant stars and they divided it into 27 precise units. We earlier talked about synodic revolution of moon divided into 30 units, that is Tithi, pegged to the celestial scale, which is Rasi, into 12 precise sectors. Now we're talking about sidereal revolution of moon around Earth. Divide that into the 27 days. We divide that into 27 precise units pegged to the sky, the stars. That would be your Nakshatra. All right. So going back to this, all right. Okay. Now, I'm trying to see if I can share the other slide. How do I go back to the other slide?
Perhaps you just stop screen share and look for it again.
Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. So now we got the nakshatra, 27 units, the sidereal. So from here, what we do is, we go to the next idea called yoga. This you have to understand very carefully. So for the synodic revolution, we saw it takes 29.5 days, divided to 30 units. Then we pegged it to the celestial scale called Rasi. Now for sidereal revolution, nakshatra is already pegged to the sky, 27 exact units, right? So what is yoga? Yoga works very similar to the vernier calipers. All right. So in vernier calipers, if you look at it, we take 1 centimeter, which has 10 millimeters, and we have a second scale, which is only 9 millimeters, and we slide it. That gives 1/10 of a fraction, right? We all know about vernier calipers. Now, yoga is, we take the sidereal rotation of Earth. Remember, until now, we're doing the synodic rotation of Earth. When we say 24 hours, we see the sun at a specific location on sky. 24 hours later, the same position, that is synodic rotation of Earth. The sidereal rotation, if you remember, I said, let's say the Earth isn't spinning, in 1 year, we lose a day. It's -1 day. So in reality, the Earth is spinning not 365, but 366 days. We lose 1 day and becomes 365 synodic days. All right. Now we take the sidereal rotation of Earth, which is 360 degrees, divide that into 27 units, same as moon having its sidereal rotation revolution around Earth. The 27 units is nakshatra. Now we take Earth also spinning 360 degrees, we take divide that to 27 units. Yoga is the sum of, so when you divide to 27, it's 13 degrees, 20 arc minutes, roughly, right? 360 degrees. What yoga does is the sum of the angular rotation of moon plus the angular rotation of Earth, summing up to 13 degrees, 20 arc minutes. All right. That forms one yoga. So if you look at yoga, yoga will fall short of nakshatra by 1/27th unit. So it keeps sliding back by 1/27th unit. So if you know the nakshatra, you know the yoga, then you have 2 data points that slide back by 1/27th unit. Just like the vernier calipers, you take 10 millimeters, take a 9 millimeter scale and slide it. You get 1/10th unit. Knowing Nakshatra and Yoga will give you 1/27th unit. It's slide back. Alright? So this is something you have to visualize. If you look at the pictures again, you will see the Earth's sidereal rotation 360 degrees. We divide that to 27 units. Moon's sidereal revolution around Earth to 27 units. The Moon's revolution is called Nakshatra. And for Earth's sidereal rotation, we take the summation of the Moon's rotation and Earth's rotation. If that is 13 degrees 20 arc minutes, that will be 1 yoga. So if you understand carefully, this is a way of dividing the nakshatras and superimposing it with another 27 unit scale which slides back by 1/27th unit. That is yoga. Alright. So some of these are little intricate concepts. You may have to go back, look at all of these circles and draw the circles yourselves, and you'll start seeing these pieces. And it's pretty amazing. It's like the vernier calipers giving a precision of 1/27th unit. When you realize, you'll really enjoy that. So that is your yoga. Now we go with the last element called Karana. Now what is Karana? So again, going back to Tithi is cyanotic revolution of Earth, of Moon around Earth, 29.5 days divided to 30 units. Vasara or Vara is cyanotic rotation of Earth. We divide that to 7 units each based on the Graha. Then we came to Nakshatra, which is sidereal revolution of Moon around Earth, divided to 27 unit. Then we came to Yoga, which accounts for sidereal rotation of Earth. Now Karana, just as Vara for the year divided into 7 units, Karana does the same thing for Tithi. Right? The Vara divides the year into units of 7. Tithi divides the Karana divides the Tithi in units of 7. But it is done in a very interesting way. There are 11 different Karanas, of which the Amavasya takes 2 specific Karanas. So each Karana is half a Tithi. So first is the Karana is half Tithi. Alright? And we take the Tithis, which are 30, divide them into units of 7s. Alright? And how we divide that? So we have 7 4 28. There are 2 more Tithis left, right? So there are 11 Karanas. The Amavasya takes 2. The half a Tithi before Amavasya takes one type of Tithi, one type of Karana. And the one after takes one type of Karana. So there are 4 Karanas that are used only one time. Alright? In that whole month. And then we take the remaining 7 and sequentially, just like Vara, divided the synodic revolution of Earth into units of 7. This divides the remaining Tithis in units of 7. That forms your Karana. These 5 elements, Tithi, Vara, Nakshatra, Masa, Tithi, Vara, Nakshatra, Yoga and Karana, these 5 form your Panchanga. Alright, so let me share this part again. Alright. Now if you look at this, so what are the 5 elements? Just to sum it up, the first one is, when you talk about Tithi, we take the synodic revolution of Moon around Earth, divide that to 30 units. These revolutions are pegged to the celestial sky called Rasi, divided to 12 precise units based on Moon completing 12 complete revolutions around Earth. So in Panchanga, Tithi accounts for the synodic revolution of moon around earth. Vara is synodic rotation of earth in units of 7. Then comes Nakshatra, which is the sidereal revolution of moon around earth. Yoga accounts for sidereal rotation of earth. And Karna divides the Tithi in that units of 7 the way the Vara did it to the synodic rotation of earth. So we see it. So we accounted for synodic revolution of moon, sidereal revolution of moon, synodic rotation of earth, sidereal rotation of earth, and all of these divided in that Vara, the 7 units. We have the Tithi being divided in 7 units. These being pegged to the celestial sky, which is stationary, and it accounts for Ayana, which is precision. And we have two simultaneous, it's a single calendar, but two aspects of it called the Sayana, Sa-ayana and Nirayana. One that accounts for precision and one that does not account for precision. So all of these are simultaneously used. So if you look at our calendars, these gives only few data points. So what is really special about it is, if you look at it, when we have all of these data points being mentioned, let's say if you're studying Mahabharata, Ramayana, or any other ancient scriptures, if you can get all of these data points, right, then you know the time in the space continuum, right? Because you have all these data points they all align at a very specific time. So you can always back calculate on how long ago it was. So if we study any of your ancient scriptures, they would mention these data points. Based on that, we can peg when that really happened. In comparison to that, if you look at, say, the Gregorian calendar, which is a modification of the Julian calendar, because that was flawed. In Gregorian calendar, you always hear about the BC and AD, right, before Christ and after death and Anno Domini and things like that. You actually need a reference point because it's a very simplistic synodic revolution of Earth around Sun, and that's about it, right? So you need a reference point on how many years has it been. You say right now it's 2021 years or 22 years since Christ, and anything before that is before Christ, and there's some of the area in that 1 year is pretty smudged up, right? So you need a reference point for that. In our calendar, we really don't need a reference point because in the whole spatial structure, you're giving multiple data points. We know the position of the planets, position of the stars, the synodic position of the moon, sidereal position of moon, synodic position of earth, sidereal position of earth with respect to the sun, and all the other planets and stars. Once we know all of these pieces, the more data points we get, the more precise we are. All right. In fact, if you some of you might remember we have seen Star Trek. He talks about Captain Log. This sounds something similar to that, wherein we don't have a reference point and we don't need one. We can actually provide a log with these precise data points, and we should be able to back calculate what it is. All right. So that's the beauty of our calendars. So it's I think exactly 8:30. So we'll go with any question and answers.
Yeah, sure, great. Thanks, Mohan Garu, for doing this. Seshagiri, I will allow you to do the honors of taking the questions and leading the discussion, as I think you would understand the jargon and the discussion flow can be nicely handled by you. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question.
Kindly, just a minute, please. Kindly, just a minute. We will take questions as per an order, either through reading in the chat box, or please raise your hands. Please do not unmute yourself until you are called. Thank you.
Okay. So Mahodaya, Ravi Subbarao garu has raised the hand. So
Hare Krishna, Mohan Sonti garu and Seshagiri Rao garu. I have a question about, my interest is in the particular thing when, he mentioned that we can track any single, point of event if we know all the 5 elements or aspects of the Panchanga. However, the earth has this wobbling about 17,000 years, and it takes 27,000 years to come back to the same position, on the sky. If that's the case, isn't it cyclic? And at some point of time, will we not lose it, particularly when it happens over the yugas, like Ramayana or even Satyuga events? We will not be knowing how many cycles has happened. How do we deal with that problem?
So as you have seen, the precision effect is about 27,551 years. All right. So that precision repeats every 27,551. Just as for the year, one year, the 365 days, that repeats every 365. And then the days repeat every 24 hours. But if you look at each one has its own cycle, right? Now, if you superimpose each of the cycles over the other, then you'll see that this 27,000 is not precisely aligned, right? When it is not precisely aligned, all the data points in this 27,551 year cycle are not necessarily same as in the next set of 27,551. So it is Panchanga is not, these are 5 angas, but if you look deeper, there are many other data points that I mentioned about the Rasi and few other ones, right? So if you take all of these 10 different data points, peg it to the 27,000 year cycle, the next set of 27,000 year cycle will not look identical because they all are running in their own little loops and cycles. So because they don't align, you can say the scales actually scale up to easily to several 100,000 or more. I haven't done the math on how much more, but definitely it's to multiple cycles. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's wonderful. So what you're saying is every cycle has its own unique markers, and we can definitely go back. Yeah, but it's a daunting task, but maybe it can be figured out. Okay, thank you so much. That gives a lot of hope.
Yes. Because they're not precisely aligned cycles, so all of them are a little off. So because all of them are aligned little off, so the first 27,000 set is not, it's not like everything is reset to 0 again and we are repeating it. Some of the cycles are off again, so we have the next 27,000. So they're not identical, right? Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll lower my hand and thank you so much.
Thank you. Amarjit ji, can you pose your question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm so absolutely delighted, to be here, part of your amazing seminar. It's absolutely wonderful. I'm based here in Windsor, which is just next to Heathrow Airport in London. I don't really have much of a question, but just really some information that I want to share with you, and then hopefully you can have a little think and then perhaps come back to me. We have had some, I mean, as you know, generally in Indian traditional sciences, which includes, Jyotish and Vastu and yoga and Ayurveda. So because of the present legislation, in the West, they don't recognize any of these sciences here. And with the grace of the universe, I managed to put together a very powerful group of British MPs in the Houses of Parliament here in London, who are actually there's about a group of 30 parliamentarians, from both Houses of Lords and House of Commons, to really make them understand, what Indian sciences are all about and how they can actually amplify and help the health architecture of this nation. And so you'll be very pleased to know that some headway is being created, and now for the first time UK is one of those very industrious countries that is looking at ways of recognizing how Ayurveda can play a pivotal role in long COVID. And this is the very first study that is being conducted by here in the UK, led by the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine in association with the Government of India Ministry of Ayush. So, there are headways, that are helping, that are developing slowly. But I think the main thing I really am intrigued, why I joined this seminar was that, my interest, my humble little interest in Jyotish, as well as Ayurveda and other Indian traditional sciences, is that, we are now, trying to put together information on our website. And I have actually, in the beginning of this talk, I'd actually written the All Party Parliamentary Group website here in your column here. But there, I just really, obviously we haven't had any time to spend before and talk. But what we are really looking for, and it's my humble appeal to Mohanji and Seshagiri and the organizers of this program, is for us to actually have an article on Jyotish relating specifically to health, which we want to put in a book. We're actually bringing out a book which is going to be launched by the British Parliament on all Indian traditional sciences. So we've got some international authorities on Ayurveda and yoga and etc. and etc. So this is maybe the reason why the universe decided me, wanted me to be really pulled into aligning, my presence, in your wonderful program this morning. And it's my humble appeal to your good selves, all the panel and all the speakers here, to please, make contact with me. I've written my email, my contact number and my email address, and see if we can try and put together something that is useful, for the political minds of this nation. Because right now, as far as Jyotish is concerned in the UK, it's registered, every Jyotish practitioner has to write, in his leaflet. And at the bottom says he has to write that Jyotish astrology is only for entertainment purposes only. So we want.
Thank you, Amajit ji. I think you made a very valid contribution, and I'm Srinivas. I'm the host here. Of course, I think a good way would be to understand from your side. Perhaps you can write to us to make it clear as to what would be your expectation from us. From my side, I had a word with Seshagiri, and people, young, dynamic, kind of scientifically minded people like Mohanji, Seshagiri, and all can actually come, form a task force of some sort, a task force which can look at understanding and making it simple and easy for a commoner like us, the followers of Sanatana Dharma, to practice and understand Panchanga, but also make it well known to the world about the beauty and the scientific reasoning behind how all this has come about. So surely I think that will be work in progress. If at all this humble suggestion is taken as an advice or a recommendation by likes of Mohanji and Seshagiriji. So perhaps we will take it forward. And if you don't mind, you can put my WhatsApp number in the chat box. Kindly get in touch with me, and I will communicate with Seshagiri and Mohanji, and we'll see where we can go from there. Right. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. Next, Yogi, could you please post your question? Yeah.
Namaste, Mahodaya. Thank you so much. It's been a fantastic presentation, and it takes quite a bit of focused listening, and it's a little complicated. I think I want to listen to it at least definitely twice to clarify a few things. Sorry. So thank you so much for that. And quickly, I want to come into the practical side of things. So typically in our either normal Sankalpa or Nitya Sandhya Vandana, we refer to, of course, the Tidhi, Vara and Nakshatra too sometimes, but then we go on to say Shubha Yoga, Shubha Karana, and we'll just proceed with that. Okay. Yeah. Practically, though we do have the precision with respect to, if I have to use the word precision, to have even the yoga and karana in terms of dividing to that extent, is it okay to ignore, or are we missing a point? Okay, theoretically it is there. Suppose if in Panchangam I missed these two angas, Am I missing out on something? Is it too critical to note it, or is it okay? That's the question. Yeah.
I think there's something which Seshagiri you can actually answer. I think, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. On a day-to-day basis, if you know yoga and karna, yes, you can say that doing sankalpa, but we are not used to it, so we neglect it. That is the actual reason. But you can include it if you know from now on. But that doesn't mean you have to wait for a particular yoga and a karna to start a process, because yoga and karna don't change just like this in seconds. It doesn't happen like that. You have to perform your sandhya vandana at the sandhya time. Doesn't matter what yoga, what karna. But having said that, yoga and karna are seen during marriage or other things. Only, I mean, they of course they don't do marriage in Athiganda Kalam and all those things, yogas. They avoid it. But otherwise, if the other things are matching, because every aspect in a Mahurta cannot be matched. We are not Brahmaguptas waiting for a particular Mahurta for his Leelavati's marriage, right? So we do compromises for a marriage. We do compromises for everything. But at what level? If it's very critical, the astrologer himself will say this yoga or this karana is not suitable. He will avoid it. He will know that. And even inside a Mahurta, there are Varjyas. He will avoid the first part and the bottom part. He will avoid it. He knows that. He knows the science. But for you to know, yes, yoga is important and karna is important, but it is not given highest preference, but it is taken care during important Mahurtas. On a day-to-day basis, you need not know. That is fine for your daily jobs like Sandhya Vandanam. Nitya Karmas.
Thank you so much. A quick question, but should we call it Karana or Karana, like what Mohanji was referring?
Okay. I think it is Karana only. I am sorry for that. Let me check it out for you. Give me a moment. Maybe it's Karana. I'll just check it out. 1 second.
No, sure.
In the meantime, I'll allow others to answer a question.
It is Karana. It is Karana. It is not Karana. It is Karana.
Yeah. So Raviji, can you pose your question now? Raviji?
Wonderful. Yeah, yes, wonderful presentation. I really appreciate. I shall throws a lot of light into a lot of unexplained things, even though I've been studying astrology for a lot of time. Now, there are two questions I want to ask. One is based on the Sunya Tithi. Sometimes one Amavasya is actually considered as Sunya Amavasa, or one Tithi is considered as Sunya Tithi. How does this come about? And my second question is, if you look at Sri Ramanavami or Sri Krishna Jayanti, Krishna was actually born on Rohini. Rama was born on Purnavasu Nakshatra. But Purnavasu doesn't actually come on the Navami day nowadays. Or Krishna Ashtami doesn't fall on Rohini Nakshatra. So there's a slight change. Is it because of the wobble or time taken? So these are the two questions I want to ask. First question is, how do you account for the Sunya Tithi and Sunya Amavasya?
Please go ahead, Seshagiri.
Mohanji, would you like to take this?
Oh, no, you can take this, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know much about, I haven't studied that, Ramanami and all of those things.
Okay, Ramanavami, I will do it soon. But the thing is, even I wanted to pose this question. For the Tithis, when we are saying it is divided by 30, is it equal parts? Is it 30 equal parts?
It is 30 precisely equal parts, because you take the 360 degrees and it is taken as 12 degrees each. But that is, the 30 is for the cyanotic revolution of moon, not the sidereal.
Yes.
So it is as
Not
from
side.
Earth, which takes 29.5 days. So that is why you see that Tithis actually shift. If you look at our regular watch, they keep shifting, and the shift is about half a day over the month, because it's the cyanotic revolution is 29.5, give or take, right? And this is precisely 30 degrees. So the idea, I mean, if you look at the dhatu of Tithi, the Tithi, right? The dhatu itself is precise. The whole idea being is precise. Because if you look at Atithi, if you look at the dhatu and the words behind it, the word Tithi comes from Tith, which is precise.
Okay. Okay. Then, Mahodaya, Raviji, what I think, I mean, I should do more research on this point for Shunya Tithi and Shunya Amavasya. But it's because of the sidereal and the cyanotic difference between the Tithi movements. I think that is what is causing the shunya. Means you cannot perform a particular. It's overlapping of two things happening in two different cycles.
Yeah.
But to be more precise, I need to do more research. So give me more time. First thing. Second thing, for your second question, yes, there is a wobble, and that's why things keep changing. Again, if it's not falling the Ramanavami and the Punarvasu Nakshatra, Navami and Punarvasu Nakshatra, it's not happening now. But give some time, it might happen in after another 13,000 years. Okay, so it will happen again. It is because of the wobbling, and the change keep happening. Okay,
the precision effect.
But just one more point to add here. There are sects of people who give preference to. Some people give preference to Navami. They just go for Navami. They don't consider Punarvasu. Similarly, those who give more preference to Ashtami for Krishna's birth, they celebrate it as Gokulashtami. Those who give more preference to
Rohini Nakshatra,
do it as Krishna Jayanti or Sri Jayanti. Of course, when Krishna was born, it was Wednesday. Nowadays, it doesn't fall on Wednesday. It keeps changing. Okay.
Yeah.
So, as Mohanji was saying, everything will not fall into place every time, right? In every cycle. So that's the main answer for that. Let's take the next question. I hope I answered that. I will come back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rajiv ji, go ahead with your question. Thank you.
Namaste, Mohanji. That was a fantastic presentation. A lot of clarity there. I consider myself a serious student of Sanskrit. Again, a beginner though, but I'm fairly comfortable reading Sanskrit texts. But again, I'm entirely new to astrology. I have no knowledge here. Again, I also have a background, I mean, I can understand trigonometry and spherical geometry. Now, if I were to embark on a personal serious study of this topic, from the Indian viewpoint, what would your recommendation be? Perhaps your own journey might shed some light on how I could start studying this subject.
I mean, as you see, there are two aspects to it. When you're looking from the trigonometry and the geometry perspective, I would see that as one of the important elements, because first we need to understand what are all the different motions of the planets and stars. And once we know that, only then I think it'll make a lot more sense when we go through the spiritual path to first understand what is really happening. So I would say take some time and look at the geometry behind it, all the sidereal, cyanotic, and if you look at as you study deeper, you'll see there are many other different wobbles, not just the precision effect. So if I talk about Rahu and Ketu, right? That is the moon's revolution that we see, that plane itself wobbles. Because that plane wobbles, the plane of Earth and the plane of the moon, again, they intersect at different points and that whole thing moves around. Because it moves around, you'll see that Rahu Ketu also shifting. Then you understand a lot of events about the Rahu Ketu and all of the lunar eclipse, solar eclipse. You understand that better and you'll appreciate it better on why those things also change. Because the plane of the moon's revolution around Earth is not steady, as many people believe. That's wobbling. Imagine take a bangle and you spin it on the floor. You see the wobble of that? That is how it wobbles. The circle is not exactly like one circular. It's kind of tilted, and the tilt wobbles again, the whole plane. When you realize that, you'll see, and that has a very big several centuries of cycles. When you realize that, you'll see how the plane of that, if you take from the equator and take the plane from the equatorial plane of Earth, you see why the intersecting line also changes. It wobbles and it changes direction. The northern point is Rahu, southern point is Ketu. These are mathematical points. When you see this, visualize this, then you appreciate all the other events that we talk about regarding the grahas and Rahu, Ketu, all of these. So I think this will be a good starting point, my opinion.
Rajiv was being very humble, as he says, he's a beginner in Sanskrit. He's actually a very fluent speaker of Sanskrit and a highly passionate Sanskrit enthusiast. Thank you, Rajiv, for joining. Thank you.
Yeah, Rajiv, if so, then you can go through the Brihad Jatakam and Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra. Also, along with what Mohanji was suggesting. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Gauri Shankarji, please post your question. In the meantime, I'll read one question. There is one question coming from one of the other members here. They are asking whether the Christian calendar weekday, that is like Monday, is it similar to Somavasaraha?
Right. So, first of all, the Christian calendar, the Gregorian calendar, it is called the Gregorian calendar, is simply taking the synodic revolution of Earth around Sun. So, of all the different motions that I mentioned in Panchanga, so many different 5-6 data points that we discussed today, there are many more. We discussed about 5 to 7 data points. The Gregorian calendar simply takes care of the synodic revolution of Earth around Sun, and that's about it. Is that simplistic? Dividing that year into units of 7, like I had mentioned in one of my slides, it's universal. It comes from the Vedic roots. So if you look at the Navagraha Stotram of Sri Vedavyasa, and there are many other locations in scriptures, you see a specific sequence of the 7 grahas. This 7 is universally used across every culture in the world, every single culture. You go to the Latin, Germanic, Greeks, every single culture in the world use the exact same sequence in those 7. That hasn't changed. Gregorian calendar, which derives from the Roman, the Julian calendar, they simply followed the same thing. So if you look at,
yeah. Sorry, please continue, Mohan.
If you want, I can just show that slide one more time if they're interested.
Yeah.
So you can, yeah, let me just share this one time. So you can just, all right, so you can see the screen?
Yes, Mohan, we can.
There you go. So this is the Graha name, right? The sequence of the Graha, also if you look at it, if you take the root mean square, the average, the gravitational pull or the influence on Earth from each one of these, they follow the same order. The Sun has the most influence, obviously, and the next one is actually Moon. Then comes all of these, right? Then comes the Mars and Mercury and all of that. This is the average gravitational pull. So they follow the exact same sequence. Our Stotram also has the same order. Every culture, Latin, Germanic, Norse, Roman, the Roman is the Julian calendar. From there came the Gregorian calendar. So actually they use the same sequence. As you see that the names are also exactly the same, in the same order. So it's something that the whole world has adopted.
Okay, there was second part in the question, so I will just correlate what you have told. So the question was, can we do the Til Dan, which is told to be done on Saturday? That is on Shani Vasarha. Is it matching? Yes, it is matching. You understood now, because both mean the same. Because Gregorian calendar has just copied it from other calendars which are following the same thing. Okay, thank you. The Gauri Shankarji, please go ahead with your question.
Hello, this is Gauri Shankar from Visakhapatnam. My question would be more of social and political side. As you have mentioned, scientifically, you have put forth all the basis. First question would be, is it fair to claim, as you said, all the cultures, ancient cultures in the world have adopted the 7-12-360 system. And by the Tithi standards, we can even say the 60 minutes and 60 seconds division, which is claimed to be Mesopotamian. As it has been just claimed that it is Mesopotamian, but we know from our Panchanga that it is clearly Indian in origin, and somehow it found its roots to different parts of the world, even to Latin America. So that's the first part. And can we claim it now? I mean, that's what the first part of the question, which adds to the Amarjit ji's edition, that what he want to do in the British Parliament, which also can claim that we, the ancestral Indians, have created the system and which has been followed everywhere, like numerical system. Yeah.
So I've seen various places. They also claim the 0 was not from Bharat. The number system is not Bharat. I mean, people want to make any claims. I'm absolutely certain and 100% certain, I know it for a fact, all of these are derived from our Vedic culture. And I can say that with absolute guarantee. But the issue we have from the political angle is, earlier they had what is called as Aryan invasion theory, that Aryans came in, they all gave everything, and they forgot all the books here. Obviously, they don't have anything in Europe. Now they have what is called as anywhere but India theory. So whether they assign it to say Mesopotamia, or they also assign it to the Central Asia, the Sanskrit came from Central Asia, it came from Mesopotamia or some other place. They, in fact, there's a TV show, National Geographic, where they say these are actually ancient aliens. So they are willing to believe it came from anywhere
Except India.
Except India.
Yes,
So
except
let them do what they want to do. But the fact remains they cannot change that. The Vedic culture is one of the most ancient cultures. In fact, the more research we do, hopefully the subsequent generations will look at, understand these data points, and they read Vedas. Many of the sections actually mention these data points. Hopefully we can peg it better.
True.
Right?
True.
So, but it's absolutely, the Vasara, everything came from, as you have seen, all the names are matching.
Yes.
And our culture and civilization, the oldest written texts are actually Vedas, nothing from Mesopotamia.
True. And the second part of the question, I would like just is how practical is to reinvent this Panchanga system and to make it a mainstream? And do you have any suggestions how to make it mainstream again?
Actually, one little thing that I have on that subject is a lot of people here, they talk about Sanskritam being a dead language. I don't think it is at all by any means.
True.
It's always been around forever and ever, and it's just growing in numbers and it's going to get better.
True.
So it is the same thing for Panchanga. The more people learn it, the more normal and natural it will sound. Just like I think the Gregorian calendar is extremely simplistic, is one reason, and two, we have been using it, so you find it obvious. But if many of us learn about the Panchanga, I think soon we will find it obvious. I've seen in villages in Bharat, a lot of people find it so obvious. I mean, they don't struggle like many of the people who are just born and brought up in cities. They just know it, right?
Yes.
We should get back to that position, just like we're getting for Sanskritam too.
Yeah.
It's my opinion. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
In fact, just to add on this, my grandma used to get confused because of the Gregorian calendar. She never understood that throughout her lifetime. She used to always say, I was born after 5 days of Narasimha Chaturdashi. He used to always say, this is Pubba Male, Pubba rain, this is this rain. She never understood the Gregorian calendar throughout her life. It is always the lunisolar Indian almanac that she goes through. Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get back to that point. Hopefully we'll get back to that point again where all of us in our generation should also find it that obvious. If
True.
not our generation, we should start putting in the effort so our subsequent generations speak Sanskritam and they understand these technologies.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what my emphasis was. Thank you very
Avashyam
much.
Mahodaya, vayam sarve samskritena eva sambhashanam kurmaha tatra samasya eva na bhavati atra Seshagiri Mahodaya asti bhavan asti Raji Mahodaya api asti aham asmi avashyam vayam samskritena sambhashanam kurmaha.
Ahamapi Mahodaya, Guruvarya.
Kaha?
Yogi Mahodaya.
Yogi Mahodaya. Astu, astu.
अस्तु महोदय बहु सम्यक् अभवत् कार्यक्रमः इदानीं विरामः वा shall we stop this as of now?
Yeah, okay, let me just conclude it then. Yeah. Thank you so much for everyone to come over today and join and show your support on this very important topic. I personally must say that I have it was too much for me to take in because I'm not a mathematical person, and I think I'll need to go step by step, baby steps. I would personally really love to see this broken down into various segments and really made easy for somebody like me to help understand. So we can start using the Panchanga with confidence. But I should really appreciate Mohanji's passion for putting up all the work and doing such a wonderful presentation. I must say that he has made it look easy, but surely there is a lot of us to sincerely put in some effort in understanding it more. Once again, I appreciate Seshagiri for really steering this discussion in a wonderful way. And he never disappoints me. Actually, he's always showed up whenever I had a topic in my mind. he taught Visishta Advaita as well for us, and he is a great teacher in that sense too. So I really hope all the passionate people can form a task force together and on this particular topic, Panchanga, so that we can definitely spread the word around, especially for the Hindus or the Dharmics to start practicing. Wonderful. Namaste to all, and we shall meet again. Thank you so much.
Namaste.
Thank you.